Okay, welcome to the class on business research. We will continue on the topic, and today it's very important. We will continue to discuss on the rest of the uh, paper writing, articles writing. But before that, I would like to bring you to attention on a variable, because in research we are dealing with variable. Okay, and actually, what we are studying and what we are facing in the world is all about variable. So we are constantly being bombarded by variable, right? And so everything it varies. So this is a constant fact. This is the only constants is change, right? The only constants is change in the Thai or in the language of Bali, Buddhist Bali, we call Anijang. Okay, so ทุกสิ่งทุกอย่างเป็นอนิจจัง everything is changing, and so we give a name, we call it variable. So everything it's vary, almost everything is varying. Okay, so we can call it a variable. It could but some of the variables could be it is not much variation, such as age. No, not age, the gender. Okay, male or female. So if you're male, it remains all the way to be male. Maybe it also changed during the way, but then if it changed during the way, we will give it another name. Okay, but other than that, everything changes, and we want to, for example, your emotions change, your thinking change, your attitude change, your learning change, the competitive advantage of organizations change, the performance of organizations change, and your age change, the relationship between you and people change, and the ability of you to handle the issue change, and your competency change, and things like that. So everything is changing. The customer preferences change. So all these are called variables. Okay, and so anything that varies. Okay, and to give a more specific understandings. So a variable will take on two or more level of values, such as the two means, for example, yes or no. Okay, male or female. Have you been here or not been here? Have you bought this? Have you been to this place? Were you the customer before? Yes or no? Those are just two variables. But then, how often you come here? Very frequent, not at all, or occasionally, and all this issue, right? All these are more than two level of variables. Okay, to what extent you agree or disagree with the your current state requirements. For example, if you talk about rich dad, poor dad, and these paradigmatic issues in terms of whether you like, whether you kind of liking the current situations or current mental models of of being, of having your bodies. I mean, your cognitive, your body has cognitions and all the emotions, and all this intelligence, and you are lending your intelligence to people's, or even to the work, or you are leveraging your intelligence. Okay, and so because of this book, Poor Dad and Rich Dad comes into the pictures. They are mental models, and don't misunderstand. I see some of the of the assignments which I have not finished grading, and you're misunderstanding and say that this is the mental. You have a mental problems. You don't have mental problem, or you don't have mental model problems. So the asking question, and if you ask a question in qualitative, if you ask a question, if they answer your question, you have to continue. One question can be answered in many, can be asked and continue to ask and question in many different ways. So when people ask you, when you ask a person a question, why you prefer this or that, and then they tell you, and why is that so? What did you do? Was there any issues when you were dealing with that particular point in time, in that particular point in time? And so it is very important that you get on with a detail, okay, getting a rich pictures, a snapshot of his or her life, and so that you can, when you try to understand in rich details, then you can know what things vary, right? And what are the relationship between what varies, what the relationship between variables. So for example, the mental models maybe have some relationship with the current performances. And if the current performance, if they don't like the mental models, which is one variable, like dislike, is a variable. And then performance, high, low, very low, in all the very low, neutral to high, very high. And so these these variables of the liking or disliking of the mental models of the exercise that were just given to you last week, we'll be able to work on, tell you the future prediction on what would be happening to his or her performance. So this is called variables. So why do we study variables? We don't study variable because we want to understand only the variable. Yes, we want to understand the variables, not only the variable, but we want to understand the relationship of the variables. We want to understand the details of the variable, and not only we want to understand the detail or the relationship, we want to understand the story behind the variable. We must have the ability to explain the variable. We must have the ability to explain why is that so, that this mental model seems like everybody's like these mental models rather than another mental models, okay, in their career. Okay, and mental models means worldviews, not the problem with the mental. Okay, and many of you misunderstand. Mental model is a picture, is a way of you looking at the world. Okay, or it's a worldview. It's a view of your career, right? It's how you look at your own career, or how you look at your life, or how you look at your life in the productive, functional, income earning sense. And that kind of rich dad poor dad's mental model. So it's not the problem with the mental. It is a mental model. It's a worldview. It's a picture of, or it's a theory, a very stubborn, rather stubborn, or preferred theory that if you think, if you give a thing, it will pop up and consciously telling you. But if otherwise, it's subconsciously driving your situation, your life. And that is the reasons why some of the variables, like an extract variable, or some of the variables that are subconsciously influencing you, you have to force it through your consciousness to bring the pictures of that particular variables into the picture. And that is through asking a lot of questions, interviews. Okay, and so again, from one page I can tell you all these details about research, and therefore actually research you have to do a lot of readings, and you this next assignments will you need to minimum 20 articles that you need to find out yourself and read it, and it's all self-driven. Okay, and when I was age 17, 16, we're already working on research and no supervision. So you have to go through all this by yourself. And if you're able to tell the story correctly, then you have a valid understanding of the situation. So that is what we mean by validity, right? Something is valid means something is working, something is true, something is as you explained, and this is called validity, and this is a very important qualities of research. So For example, when you which is no difference from when you buy a product or a service, right? You want to buy when you buy the product, you expect that the product or a service deliver the task to your expectation and fulfill your requirements and fulfill your needs. So if it fulfills the requirements, that is called validities. Okay, so you have to when you try to study the rich dad poor dad, how do you know that it is valid? Well, if you ask a question and if you don't ask a serious question, then for sure you will not be able to get a valid understanding of what you are looking for, which is about mental model and how it influences the performances or the path, career path, or the life path of the people. So you really have to go into the asking the right questions for the validity to be the valid understandings to be able to review. Okay, so this is a very important. And then and if you are maybe you seems like you are asking the right questions, but you are not reliable. Sometimes I see you ask a good question. Sometimes you don't seems to ask good question, or sometimes you ask good question, but your question were not repeated to different other people. So you're not able to. You're asking a different question. All the time, change your question again and again, and so there is no. So you are getting a lot of variables, you're getting a lot of messages, but you're not able to generalize and put into a picture of what is going on in this four group. It's only able that you are able to find the good understanding in terms in this for investors or business oriented system driven types of business owners and employee and self-employed. By asking the same question, then you can see how they react to the same question and respond to the same question in detail. That you pick up all the variables, and therefore you can come up with what is going on. Certain group prefer this, certain types of people prefer that, and certain and this mental model seems to be a little bit more dissatisfactory. It's from the hierarchical a lot of Maslow law. This mental model seems to fit in to the lower zone, and so therefore there is still a huge gap from the lower zone to the upper zone, and so dissatisfaction occurs, and so unless you are able to ask this kind of question, and you will not be able to get validity, and if sometimes you keep on switching your question, that means you are not reliable. Your process is not reliable. And the second thing is called reliability. And you know, when you produce your factory, your product and services in a factory, and sometimes when I ask you to produce a product, and you today you produce correctly, tomorrow you shortcut and produce in a very using another type of production sequence, and that would is not reliable, and therefore if it's not reliable, it's not valid. Your projection, your interpretation is not valid. So I know you have a good quality, you are capable, but you do not produce according to what we have taught in the production, in the factory production operation. And because of validities, and you're not able to generate a good, valid product, and in a reliable sense. So your product sometimes good quality, sometimes bad quality, and sometimes seems okay, sometimes seems not okay. So you're not able to sell it to wide range of market. It seems like you have to sort out maybe this for this, that for another group, and that, because you have different batches using different methods, and so this only works for this batch, that only works for that batch, and this only works for this batch of customers, that only works for that batch of segmented customer. And so you're not able to deliver your product and services to every businesses. That is called generalizability, ability to be general to as many people as possible. And that comes to the third question, third qualities of research called generalizability. So we already moving to almost the end of the research, business research. So using one page, I can stay in any page, and we can talk and talk and talk, and we can finalize and finish all the research issues. So do not think that one page doesn't tell the story. Okay, and I can ask you to use this page and narrate and give you a final exam. Okay, and still many people can have difficulties if you do not pay attention. So this variable is very important. So in conclusion, research is, as I already told you, is nothing more than, it's nothing but your product and services. And this is very important. I have already explained to you the production sequence and the productions and operations of services and so. And I already mentioned about validity. I've talked about reliabilities. I've talked about generalizabilities or generalization, meaning ability to get it to general. So there's three important quality. One is validity. Okay, are you really able to explain your research outcome that reflects the reality of whichever you are studying, and which is meeting the expectation of your objective or meeting the expectations of the customers. And the second is, do you have a reliable process? And that means that you have to have a standard protocol to follow. Okay, like in the production, you cannot keep on changing your your production sequence or your production protocol. And third is and because of that, you're lacking of the ability to generalize. Okay, and that depends on who do you interviews. And some of the assignments you did a good job, but some of the assignment repeating different employee 2 times or 3 times, and some of you simply jumps into the conclusions to interview people, and they also misunderstand. If it is not business owner, is not B. Okay, business owner is not B. It could be self-employed. Okay, entrepreneur. A B is a very serious owners that has set up that when you interview them, they must be able to tell you the system, that they really focus on system. If they keep on focusing on just self-employed characteristic, that is X, not the B. Okay, I have already mentioned. And if there is a lot of B, then if you do not get into the right B, then you are talking about wrong groups of people. So that means your market segmentation, you're identifying the wrong customers, and that is representational generalization or population generalization issues. There is another qualities of research generalization. We have analytical generalizations, in the sense that you generalize in a true picture manner, in a true theoretical manners that can explain the situation in the right way that conforms to the expectation, theoretical or objective expectations of your research. And the other is the representational of population generalizations that your research fit in to that particular segment. So if you interview from the wrong groups, then you're not able to do that. Okay, seems because of that, I would put into structure I will put into the statement. Okay, that it is subjected to change to also include final examinations. Because of the seriousness of attendance issue, and things that the projects you can get away with the attendance. So we will have the also included midterms and probably final examination, and I will inform the universities right away for that changes. I still have time for finalization. Okay, and so this is very so it comes to again give you another examples on variable. So now we have already studied what is a variable, and so and to get a good understanding of the variable, for example, we're talking about the personalities of people. So if you want to get to understand the variable, you have to do a lot of literature reviews. And so you need to read a lot of articles. It could be 20, 30, 40 articles just to understand how people, other people's understands the personality, extrovert and introvert. Okay, what is the meaning of introvert? What is the meaning of extrovert? And just like production, if you want to produce a product to fit into the expectation, or you want to produce your research outcomes that really deliver to the expectation, to the true meaning of the variable, you have to do a lot of literature review. So literature review is just sorting out your requirements, sorting out your, just like production, sorting out your requirements, sorting out what you need to do with this variable. Okay, how can you deal with this variable? What function does this variable has? Okay, what is the characteristics of this variable? What other people, how other people utilize those variables, utilize your product? Which market utilize your product? And how do you produce that variable in such a way that is more valid and tell the story better? Is there any way that other variables need to be in place together with these two variables? And what are the weaknesses of only covering two variables? Is this two variables sufficient? And is this two variable neglecting other issue? And so this kind of issue, we call it research. Okay, so the variable is so we have discussed the quality, the variable, validity, reliability, generalizations, and we also even focusing from the starting point of your another quality called representationals or population generalizations, that you need to have a proper sampling, or you need to ask the right people, because if you ask the wrong people, whichever they tell you, it's whether you summarize it well or what, it doesn't valid. So your validity, you're trying to sell to another group, but you picked up the wrong group. And so you're not able to sell. So if you're not able to sell, it is not valid. Okay, it is not valid. Since the very beginning, it's already not valid. So this can be done by, for instance, in extrovert and introvert, a variable, a personality like 1 or 0, one, either this or that, or 1 or 0, that depends, or 1 or 2 depends on the relationships of the variables and how that variable and what environment it is. Is it possible that people will have two personality, introvert and extrovert, or is this more towards like a attitude associated with it, or is that a little bit more tendency towards behavior? All these issues are gaps and research that you need to do, and that depends on your literature review. So in the literature review, you need citation. So you need to read a lot of books. You need to read a lot of articles and cite them and say who say this, and by quotation. I have already explained to you last time, and so you already know how to cite. And also whichever citation you have must correspond to your reference, one-to-one relationship. Okay, reference list must have your citation. Okay, and all your ideas, even the ideas come from other people's inspirations, and you read other people, they give you the idea, you have to cite them. Okay, by respect. Okay, so this I already actually have completed all this research, but again, how you produce that depends on your production. So I would like to see how you produce the product and services. Okay, I need to see your capabilities, and that capabilities, you need to really go through the full articles, which is from extract. I have already explained introduction. I've already explained a literature review. It's basically consolidating and deductions or induction in the sense, meaning that you really have to make use of the literature review. Is just nothing but if I want to understand these two variables, I have to make use of all the raw materials or all the available information or all the available knowledge in the world, or I can learn from as many people as possible, or I can interview other people. So there's no difference between interviews and literature review. Literature review, people's already put up on the script and you just read it, and interview to collect the data and put up on the scripts and things like that. And so and you analyze it and then you put on the literature review. So literature reviews, people has already gone through analyzing all this issue and scripting and consolidating the structures of thought. So there is a structures of thought. So through by literature review, you hope that you are able to get a structures of thought in relating to this two variable, introvert and extrovert. And through the literature review, you can find out so many gaps that you can do research. So you can ask questions. So therefore, research question, what exactly you need to do. I have given to you a lot of examples of what you need to do just now. Otherwise, you can go back to listen. It's research all this research question. It comes from literature review also, and if you want, literature review, because it's a structured thought, so you can come up with a model. So I need to see your at the end of your literature review, there is a consolidated model of yourself that you want to do in that literature review. So that consolidated model we call conceptual model, the theoretical framework, the theoretical concept models and things like that, that consolidate the way you organize your thought processes relating to introvert and extrovert personality, and how the things need to be discussed within that context, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are the situations relating to literature's review. And the last sections we talk about qualities of research: reliability, validity, generalizability. We have analytical generalizabilities, and we have the populations or representational generalizability. So we have discussed about the natures of the quality of the research product or services. So if I judge you, I will judge easily based on your reliability. I can see whether your research that you are telling me, what you're telling me, what you're working on is reliable or is not reliable. And I'm also judging and interpreting from how valid your story is, and I'm also looking into how capable your outcomes, research outcomes, are able to generalize to a segment, a larger segments, or just a particular segment. And even to a particular segment, you have to make it clear where is your sampling and who do you talk to, okay, and things like that. And then we talk about literature review, structured processes, and involve so many research questions, and your objective and can be inspired from reading the literature review. So this introverted and extroverted 内向外向, that is the things that you can do. And once you understand it, and sometimes if you feel that the literature review has already given you a pretty clear card, detailed understanding on introverted and extroverted understanding of the characteristics of personality, then probably you can develop a questionnaire. So you can develop the questionnaire rather than just go through the interview. If you want to develop the questionnaire, you have to pull out, read a lot of literature review, can see the pros and cons or strength or certain weaknesses of different types of questionnaire, and see whether or you want to use it in combinations, or you're going to test it all at the same time to see how they actually correlated and help you and get a better one in the future. And so there, and that you need to go through literature's reviews, okay, and things like that. But in general, you should be able to, before you get into the questionnaire, all the questionnaire are based on certain definitions of the variable. So you should be able to also identify what exactly is the variable means. For example, extroverts are usually emotional, and this is only These are emotionally enthusiastic, lively. This is just the characteristics. So you have to get into the definitions of the extroverted. So anyway, literature review is to get a big picture on what exactly is the variable and things like that. Okay, so I have already explained to you variable, and I already have explained to you your objective of looking into the variables is not only the variable itself, but to identify how that variable influences, for example, the mental models, influences the performance of your career, or the performances of your life, or the satisfactions of your life, or the further the dream world fulfillment of your life. And so we are basically talking about two types of variable. One is this variable x and another variable y, or many others variables, and we want to see their relationship. So this relationship is causal relationship, x happening, y to happen, or x because of that, and how, to what degree you can prove, you can support with the data through your interviews or through your quantitative survey that x really leads to y, and that leads you to the phenomena that you are studying. Okay, so this is a very important x and y. Okay, and if you put into the mathematical function, y therefore is a function of x, and the function of x means there is a structure that tells the story of how the x are related, are integrated together in such a way that it produces the y. So there is an x here doesn't mean only one x. It could be x1, x2, x3, x4. So it could be unlimited, or it could be many different types of x. And so it's a complex world up here. So we call this is a complexity. And by giving a structure of this x, it reduces the complexity into a structure form to produce the y. So it becomes less ambiguity. And it's more certain that you will be able to predict the y and in a right way. And so very important. Okay, this you have to understand that we call it independent variable because and y is called a dependent variable. So it depends on somebody. So y depends on x. So we call dependent variable y, and x is the independent variable. Okay, so these are the basically very important. And for example, if you have this, if I ask you a question, for example, when you study introvert and extrovert, I ask you a question that you're introvert, okay, and I want you to do a research that tells me what kind of variables that influences a person's nurtures a person into an introvert. So what kind of X influences a person structurally to introvert or to extrovert? And that is that is the study of psychology, and that is it's not difficult to do, right? And so research is really nothing but finding out all the understandings about the variables, that we have a valid understanding of X, valid understanding of Y validity. We have a reliable understanding, reliable reliable process, a research process of understanding X, and reliable process of understanding Y. And we are able to generalize the X to large groups of people or certain groups of people. So we're talking about generalizability. Okay, and we are able to form a relationship with X that influences Y or predicts Y's or results in Y. And so we're talking about analytical generalizability and the population generalizability and things like that. Okay, so these are very important. So we already talked about, you already understand what is a variable. So everything is a variable, everything varies, okay? And so variable is just nothing be specific. It's just a phenomena that you want to understand, okay? So that's something that you want to understand. So the phenomena is very easy to understand. So your, you know, your gender, so that I can know why you understand variable. Because if I can understand a phenomena, I can understand you better. I can understand the events better. I can understand the situations better. So I can get control with the situations better. So if I understand, if I get to ask you, uh, as a person's a gender. So if I say like male, female, or otherwise. So if I understand it, because I know the personalities of in general sense, okay, not in the 100% sure, because everything is population generalizability in that sense. And there are certain reflecting certain characteristics in that particular analytical generalization. And so by getting to understand that phenomenon, we were able to control the situation better, right? Because there are certain behavioral and cognitive personality associations with that. And so we want to understand a phenomenon. So for example, we want to understand what is, there's certain psychological or expressive behaviors of people that is called aggression. Okay, so we want to know what is the nature of the aggressions, why it is aggression, and what harms or what benefit does aggressions have, in what perspective it is good, in what perspective it is not good, and in what context it is not good, and things like that, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is okay, what is going on. And cognitive task, okay, cognitive task is the another variables, and those you can read it by yourself. There are all kind of variables, and so if we can get a better understanding, that then we can control it better. If we understand what causes aggressions, we can control it better. Okay, and we can use it better. We can make use of it. So really, the first step is to what exactly is aggression. So before you can control the situations, you have to understand the nature. So either the definition is not clear, that you want to go to the qualitative interviews to find it out, or it's already pretty a lot of people studying it, and so you can read the literature reviews to understand what is exactly is aggression. So in either case, your job really is to be able to get to good understanding of the variable. You have to have a definition, operational definition, so that operational definition will it's slightly different from conceptual definition. The things that I have explained before just was the conceptual definition, in a sense that it gives the meaning to that particular variables. Again, you can go through either interviews or the literature review. But then you can also, for example, if you read the literature review and now you understand, what is aggression, and there are a lot of theories involved, and different theory tell you that aggression is this blah 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 blah, and this based on this theory and based on this blah 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 blah, you can therefore define a set of procedure to measure it. For example, let's say if we have a variable called service satisfaction, and by conceptual definition, the satisfaction is well, there are a lot of ways to look at the service satisfactions, customer satisfactions or service satisfactions. But one of the way, by the theory of this of the expectation, is that it is meeting the degree of meeting the expectation, and that could be the degree of satisfaction. If that is so, our operational procedures would be to measures and using the satisfaction, using that to what kind of expectations do they have in each of the customer, and how we can use that expectation, list all the expectation and ask them to what degree you are being satisfied with that. That would give you satisfaction, right? That would give you satisfaction. definition. So operational definition is a variable. Of a variable is the set of procedure used to measure and manipulate it. For example, bowling. Skill. So, for example, in the bowling skill, and a set of operational definitions would be, for example, how do you know that you have a good bowling skill? Well, maybe you should, instead of coming up with a questionnaire, we come up with a table, and we not learn how to score whether it's the you get a full score, or you get a strike, or you don't get a strike, or what is your score, and then you can determine your score accordingly. Okay, and until you get the final into the final score, and so the maximum score will tell you that you are the world champion, and consistently or not consistently. So we can determine from, we can study this questionnaire, we can study these procedures and score, and determines the standard deviation, and how consistencies, and the risk of the losing one score or two score, or the consistencies of getting the perfect score, or what. And so from there you can determine the bowling skill. So once you operational definitions allow you to measure in a reliable way, and once you have that operational definitions material, then you can, then whichever you study, the results will be reliable. And when you have a reliable, valid understanding of the variable, then you can study other variable, and then you can study the issue, right? So you can continue to study many issue you can study the many variables, and study many of their relationship, okay, and things like that. So it is research, therefore it's just really nothing but you can generate knowledge by yourself. Okay, you can generate knowledge by yourself. So so if no need to, so if let's say if I want to study the whole textbook on human resource development, or organization development, or human resource management, it's very simple, right? We can once you understand what is the concepts of validity, reliability, generalizability, analytical generalizability, representational or population generalizability, what does it mean by literature review, what does it mean by getting a structural concept, what does it mean by relationship of variables, what does it mean by variables, and what does it mean by conceptual definition, what does it mean by operational definition of each of the X and Y, so that you can get a good grip measuring of X and Y, so that we can produce the data. And once we produce data, we can analyze and produce the informations, and many informations leads to a theory, right? And then from the theory, then we repeat the data, asking many different peoples and sample again. Then we can get a good understanding and valid understanding that this theory is very powerful, which is the population generalizability. And from there we can understand the whole textbook. So it's very easy to get A actually for all the classes, right? It's no difficult. Even for engineering and for businesses, is all this science is all the same. Engineering based on understanding all these laws and natures of laws, or the for example, your thermodynamics first law, second law, and then the fluid dynamics new equations, and that has the radiations or heat transfers and things like that, or some velocities or diffusivities or whatever. And then from there you can apply to many different applications and things like that. So this is what we mean by the operational definition. Okay, so the variable bowling skills could be operationalized in many different ways, and one of the ways is the number of pins knocked down in a single row, and then write down your score on that row, and then accumulatively get to the consistency. You can analyze the consistencies across the one times, and then across all, and things like that. Okay, Things get a little bit more complicated when studying behavior because a lot of social psychological factors, right? A lot of social psychological uh, personals and factors that are maybe not easy to understand. Maybe it's subconsciously there, or maybe you know it's or intangible. A lot of them are implicit that is not obvious, and so it's a little bit more challenging, and you need not only a good conceptual models, but you have to really, your operational definition has to be very sharp. Okay, your the way you operationalize and trying to quantify it and measure it, or get the qualitative data, so quantitative data becomes more challenging. Okay, and sometimes even more so to a children, right? If it's a children, that brings another picture. Saying if you ask a children, do you have what are you introvert or extrovert? Is certainly a challenge, right? So you have to find out a different set of operational structure operational definition, or set of a procedure that you can measure the introvert or extrovert of the personality of the child, and that is even better. So you can predict a personality earlier, and so that you can prevent certain problems from occurring in the future. And that is called the validity, right? That means that your validity is spent all the way to the future. And so this is therefore research is about your capability. It's about our capability to really uh, be able to get the data out, right? So all these are nothing but just the ability to get the data. Data. Show me the data, right? And then if you make a wrong procedure, and then it seems like you write a lot but nothing, right? No meaning. Okay, so and that's why the A is very difficult, and no matter how your language is, if it doesn't make sense, it's not no meaning at all. It's not about language. It's about you going through a proper procedure, right? So this is well, partly because of what I have explained in a simple sense. If you do not want to explain in the way I just explained, which is more holistic, but we can call it, just say that one of the issue that is complicated is because of extractness of the variable. So like pain, comparing with age or your gender, this gender and age is concrete, you can understand it, but then pain, it's very abstract. So what do you mean by pain? So when I ask you about mental model, and which is abstract, and if you explain wrongly, you will get the wrong answer. If you explain to me that this mental model is like this, so if you do not tell how you explain to the how you explain to the interviewees, and before you ask the question, I have no idea how valid is your question, and is the response, and so because of the abstract situations of the uh, the variable. So this extractions is very important. Okay, so a variable such as pen is very general and more abstract. Okay, and because of that, you really have to come up with a good conceptual understanding. And then once you get a good conceptual understanding, you also need a good operational procedures such as questionnaire. If otherwise, you have to use the qualitative interviews. Okay, and so but sometimes the questionnaire may miss many details, but it is certainly useful to get a quick answer, to understand whether you have pain or not having pain, but then what kind of pains and how the pain associated with you, or how it is developed, you have to ask different types of questions, or maybe interviews. Okay, and so this is only a questionnaire to get straight to the point of getting the data in the scale of 1 to 5 or 0 to 5, depending on 5 scale or 6 scale on pain. Okay, so no pain, mild, discomforting, distressing, horrible, and extremely pain, and this kind of from large to small or small to, you can, this one big first and small to large, okay, and things like that. Or you can arrange your questionnaire in such a way that there is leave blank and let them fill up by themselves. So you put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then no pen is here 1, and the worst pen is it's 5, and then they probably will tell you whether it's 1, 2, 3, but this is a little bit ambiguity, so you probably have to look into the a more certainty certainty of the situation. Okay, so this is very important. Okay. Okay, and if you are trying to measure, use this to for a child, for the children, is even impossible, and you will get unreliable and invalid results because the procedures, nobody understands what you're talking about, and so you have to use when you're trying to ask questionnaire on the children. Maybe you have to use something like this, okay? And so people know, where are you in? Are you here or here or here or here or here or here? And then they will tell you, I'm probably here and probably here. And then you corresponding know that this one means no pain, and this one means I really pain a lot until I cry and almost crying, things like that. So so you have to read the literature reviews, one Becker faces a pain rating scale, and so and all these issues come from the literature reviews. So research is about understanding all these variables and the functions of variables causing what, so that you can predict the outcome. So for example, ambidexterity, competency, or competitive strategy. So F is a competitive strategy. Competitive strategy is a structure of all the utilization of all the ambidexterity processes and procedure, and or skills, and then turn it into a competitive advantage. Okay, so this therefore competitive advantage come from ambidexterity, exploitation, or the exploration of the simultaneous uses of both exploration, exploitation, or the value generated by the exploitation, or the value process created by that, or the innovations created by that, or the continuous improvements created by the ambidexterity that generate the or other types of the entrepreneurship that the ambidexterity skills induces, that generates the innovations which generate the competitive advantage. So X goes to Y to go to Z. So really depends on what you want to do. Literature reviews can probably give you some light. And some of the so once you understand, for example, two variables, or you have variable 1 and variable 2, ambidexterity, or other things, competitive advantage of performance, and so you will probably find this negative relationship between these two variables, or positive relationship, or no relationship at all, or the relationship is not positive and linearly, or negative on positive in a linear sense, but in a curvilinear sense. And so so anyway, two variables will generate a lot of data, and your job is to fit the data into so that you can explain the data, how well they fit into this linear curve, and that is the percentage of variations, the percentage of variability that you can explain. Okay, and things like that. So relationship and reduction of uncertainty, in the sense that your job is to identify. So when you can identify the relationship, for example, in this sense, that means that you are reducing the uncertainties about the world, because you're reducing the uncertainties about the world, and therefore you can control the world better, things like that. And so this is very, very important, that we have to be able to understand what are the variables that you're talking about in your research, and the more detail you can, and sometimes there are 10 variables, okay, and for example, if I asking you what are the if this is the ambidexterity, these are the antecedents or variables that causes ambidexterity to happen, and what would you do? And so if you can understand has the knowledge to understand all these variables and their relationship, then you reduce the uncertainty. And so, for example, the innovation management, why we manage our innovations, because through innovations management, like open innovations, or the very serious, rigorous innovations processes of the gauge activity processes, or push and pull processes, or simultaneous push and pull processes, or with artificial intelligence embedded processes of innovation, we are able to understand, reduce the uncertainties about our future world, so that we can sell our product and services in a more efficient manner. And so when we detect a relationship between the variable, which is, for example, through innovation management, and we reduce the uncertainties about that, our ability to sell to the new customers or new product and services, and things like that. Okay, and this is because we have a good understanding of the variable. So this, in a sense, we reduce uncertainties, meaning that we reduce the randomness in events. Okay, so we are more capable of controlling into a more deterministic sense, rather than random and variability in the very beginning, and we get a good understanding on their pattern relationship, and so that we can be more certain. So this is a very important. So research is aimed at reducing the random variability by identifying the relationship. Okay, things like that. Do need to strike from your side, okay, because it stays on the PowerPoint, and so I have to create it off again. Okay, so that's why we have to do a literature review. To do literature reviews and read 20 articles minimum, and sometimes if you are the good, really hardworking students, you probably read more, and your job is to you have an uncertain world. So you have an uncertain world. For example, you are in a world of volatile. It will keep on changing. You have a volatile world, variability, volatiles, uncertain world. I have already explained, and you have a very complexities of world, complex world, a lot of variables involved, and your unclear ambiguities, and even your directions or your contextual understanding or your organizational purpose or your goals are unclear, and you have VUCA. So your job is to go to the literature review, or the interviews. Okay, and it's not interviews one. You have to interview to write many people, not like people's like a sampling size in the quantitative sense, but maybe interviews 10, but whether it's 10 or 15, the meaning depends on your purpose of your research, and depends on whether the people represents the groups that can tell you the story. Okay, for example, if you want to ask, explore, and be dexterity, and many of your assignments, okay, fine, it doesn't matter. So I'm not kind of so harsh on you. But for example, if you are trying to identify ambidexterity, and then you say, oh, okay, exploit, okay, fine. But how many organizations there is very ambidexterity? Okay, and so if you interview people, simply get the organization, you may be able to identify that they demonstrate characteristics of ambidexterity, but you are not able to conclude uh, uh, how ambidexterity organization is. So if your objective is to conclude and shed light and demonstrate how an ambidextrous organization is and how do they do the process involved, and you interviewed all the people that is at the end of your research doesn't tell the story or the situations of your fulfill your objective, that means you know the whole situation is not under your control. And so and the whole thing is still in randomness. It's still uncertain. You're still not clear what is ambiguity, what is the ambidexterity organizations looks like. And so therefore your job, your research has not been able to reduce the uncertainties about the things that you want to identify and to tell the story. So your research aim at reducing random variability has not been achieved. Okay, and so this is very, very important and very serious. And many people, do the research, doesn't know what is going on, and then simply do here, simply do there, and then at the end, and then say, "Hi, excuse me, is my research okay?" I mean, you can judge by your own research okay or not okay by knowing that the research is aimed at reducing the random variability. Right, and relative to with respect to your research objective, which is chapter 1, introduction. So I need on your next assignments to write not only the literature reviews, that ability to tell and organize structures of all the thoughts that allow you to be able to identify many research questions that that help to reduce that help to fulfill or address some of the gaps in the literature reviews, and probably can also lead you to form a good, clear objective of your research, and also tells you the overall structures of relationships, so that the literature review gives you a conceptual understandings of how you can reduce the random variabilities of the situation, of all the variables in such a way that you can explain, address your research objectives clearly. So chapter 1, introduction, should be able to tell people why that you really need to do this research, and arrive at the research objective statement. The purpose of the question of this study is to blah 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 blah. Then the literature review therefore takes on all the next procedure, next clarification, and if there is any gaps that involve in any sub-objective that appears, it will appear in the literature review. Okay, because you have already know what you're going to do in your chapter 1, which is your introduction, which is a bigger purpose, and then from there, anything that appeal, it is just the questions, research questions, and research of more research objective. Or you can, that is how people separated the purpose and objective. But then if you really don't want to separate purpose and objective, then it's fine. But otherwise, the purpose of the research is to in chapter 1, and the objectives and research questions comes slowly revealed from your literature review. Okay. And if it is a quantitative-based survey, then your literature review, because it has a clear concept, and you slowly form your concepts, and you can form a hypothesis in your chapter 2 literature review, which is still fine. because the hypothesis is just another way of reducing the random variability, right? A hypothesis, this and this has a negative relationship, this and this has a positive association, right? This and this has no relationship. So H has no relationship with the, or this has no relationship with the H. Because blah 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 blah. Okay, or there is a curvilinear relationship because when it is saturated and the relationship goes down, so we have to identify the saturation point. And after the saturation point, it goes down, and so we have a hypothesis that that it will goes up and then until it hits the saturation point that it will goes down. Okay, and so you 1, 2, 3, 4, you can form the hypothesis. Okay, and each of the hypotheses, this is relatively easy to do, and this relationship is a little bit more slightly difficult because you have to identify this point. Okay, and this point may be dynamic, may be static. Okay, if it's static, then say so in your literature review. If it's dynamic, say so in what sense and in what kind of environment that it is changing and things like that. And so you can different dynamic and different situations. So there is a set of shape. Okay, on curvilinear. Okay, so I'm just telling you the simple extract forms, and if you as a student should be able to go into the details. So if I show you one linear curve, it's dynamic, you already can imagine it could be this one keep changing, so it could be a shape like this, or it could be a shape like that. Okay, and so or it could be moving up. Okay, we do not know. Or it may be fractioning, okay, and then this one will fractioning depending on the situation, right? Depending on the situation and things like that. Okay, or for example, in tourism destination, we have a curvilinear relationship in such a way that we can do a research that until a destination reaches a certain point, it will start to, everybody start to go to a destination, okay, and then until a certain point, and you have to find that certain point that it will start to go down. And so where is the certain point? If you so identifying this certain point is a research challenge because it reduces the randomness event. So it means that you can predict the future, that anybody who reach up to this point, if we do not do anything on the destination, it will start to go down. So you are actually reducing the uncertainties about the future world, and help the country or help destinations to improve, right? And this curve you already know, right, in your product life cycle. So you have to not only destination but also a product life cycle. So you have to increases your sales from, and this is already very difficult because to cross the prism, to cross this is not easy task. Okay, and the novice as beginners of the acceptance of your technology to convince them to get into the mass market is a huge task, and it not only changes on the modifications of a new product, but also modify your whole systems of operation so that the cost goes down. And but when it goes to a certain point, where is that certain point that the product will start to go down? And if you can reach and identify that certain points before it happened and takes actions right here, then you are not only reducing the uncertainties of the world, of the future world of that organization or their product and services, but then you can also improve the performance of the organization and extend the life of the product life cycle until you cannot finish, until you cannot do. Okay, so these are the situation that you will find, and you will need to challenge yourself in the literature review. Okay, I have already given you all the necessary importance information. If you look into the whole section on the business full research full article, we have chapter 1. Introduction, chapter 2, literature review, chapter 3 is the methodology, 4 is the result discussions, and 5 conclusions. So you almost finished 2 out of 5. Okay, and you already starting to work on interviews. So you almost 3 out of 5. And so you are capable already, and you already studied the statistics, okay? And so you already know how to run the method. So I will not need to teach you on the this course is not supposed to teach you statistics. Okay, it's your job to apply the statistic class and this to this business research, and of course literature reviews. You have to read it, and no plagiarism. Over 5% is it's not good and subjected to penalty. Okay, but if it's more than 20, then forget it. That means the whole paper is not readable, and your grade is automatic a D. No need to ask, no need to read your article. Okay, so again, because of these uncertainties were because of the VUCA, and this is what is happening today in the world. Okay, and we are moving into the VUCA environment. Volatilities, we are constantly on the change roller coasters, up and down and up, everything, and so everything is on a volatile. And so how do you use your research and business literature reviews and conceptual understandings and innovations management, which I already put on put the YouTube up for almost 3-hour sessions on the YouTube on innovations management, which really it's a very short, concise understandings of uncertainty reduction view of the innovations management, and it covers the whole courses. So it's a whole semester class in 3 hours. So please go to the YouTube and learn the processes of the business innovations management. Okay, and so in view of all these volatilities and uncertainties of your knowledge and complexities of your information, of your variables, and whether this causes that or whatever, and your ambiguities because of all this issue, it becomes really ambiguous, especially dealing with human beings and decision-making organization. And all this needs research, okay, to reduce this VUCA, to deal with the VUCA. Okay, so in the VUCA era, we should strengthen our research skill, thinking skill, method skill, and to be better response to all these challenges and seize opportunities and develop them. So this becomes a very, very important understanding in European country. So in European Commission, they understand this VUCA situation, and they want to make the whole citizens of the EU to master this competency. Okay, you can call it entrepreneurial competency or entrepreneurial competence, in such a way that that everybody has the thinking process, everybody has the methodological process, everybody has the good attitude and skill to respond to, be able to respond to and find out and identify the opportunities and develop into implementation. And this is a very, very not only for new businesses, but for the developing even the present businesses as an employee. Okay, so we call intrapreneurial. Okay, in that sense. So again, so you are a business research student, so I want all of you to be able to understand the business research. Okay, the randomness in events and reduce uncertainties about the world, increasing our understanding of the variable through research. So so this is a very, very, very important. Okay, So make sure that you understand it. Okay, I'll give you another example. I have already demonstrated in a bigger sense. So I'll give you some very tiny little example, okay, and a simple example just to show you how you can reduce the randomness of your world. Okay, and for example, marketing world. Okay, and if you want to do a marketing, how do you reduce the randomness of of your of the consumer world so that you can get a better grip through marketing strategy, branding strategy, consumer behavioral strategy, influenceable strategies, and things like that. You know, very all of this are just nothing but research. So again, I want you to give a good understanding. Okay, it's almost 1 hour. Okay, hopefully we finish by 2 hours times because it's not about the hours, it's about the richness of our coverage. Okay, and we cover small pages, small number of pages, but actually we cover the entire course and in a pictorial, directional, workable sense. And so this is the paradigms of holistic view. So when I teach you, if it's better for a discussion, you can raise question anytime, because the more you ask questions, the more we can, go all the way to the outer space. If you don't ask question, every time when I read your assignments, okay, it is as it is, things like that. So research is aimed at reducing the random variability by identifying a systematic structure, and not only the relationship, it must be able to, I did not mention here, but I have already explained many different times, is that it's not only identifying the systematic relationship, it must be able to tell the story. If you are able to tell the story, it means that you already get grip with the hold on to the you have a good grip understanding of the theories, and you are capable to explain why this variable is so important. Okay, not only telling the relationship. Telling the relationship is probably artificial intelligence can tell, right? If you use a robot or artificial intelligence and neural network, they can tell. Okay, well, this is going to cause this. This is going to predict that. That is going to do this. But human being has a qualitative it's not only that make sure or us able to tell the story. Okay, that means the to tell the story and explain the relationship. Okay, and this is theories. Okay, this is theory. Otherwise artificial intelligence can do for you, and your job is replaced. Okay, your job is replaced. So make sure that we understand this. Okay, so it's able to tell the stories and explain the relationship, which is called theory. Otherwise, artificial intelligence can do for you, and your job is replaced. So I have already made a lot of the publications on artificial intelligence on the replace your job. So let me see whether I can come up with a recent one, okay, which I analyzed in Chiang Rai for the hot spring. If I can find one, because I don't want to. I just want you to show you quickly. Okay, so this one is the For example, the similar things that the AI can replace your job. So we demonstrate to you the hot spring destinations research of myself during the August time, which is during the COVID time, to just relatively recently, and so we have the stimulation. Okay, so again, we have a lot of data that about the services or any nature's things that can simulate. So you can observe, and you can observe, and you can create, and you can interviews, and you can visit, and you can field work, and find out all kind of things that can stimulate your senses, right? Because human being is stimulated by all these senses, right? So depend if you work on this Buddhist philosophy, okay, of this, it will know that everything is stimulated by senses. So the eye and the object were created with the consciousness, eye consciousness. We have the ear consciousness. So all this consciousness based on our previous experiences, and not previous experiences of the customers, and previous habits of consumers, or people telling you to whatever, or the knowledge, and then you start to react, right? Once you have this consciousness, and you get into contact with all these objects, and start to because of your experiences, start to form some organism, right? You have mental formations about the image of the destinations, about the utilities and values of the destinations, about the emotions, about the perceptions, how you perceive the service quality, the value offered, or the complaints, or the cleanliness, or the identities, or uniqueness, or the contextual cloudiness, or the whatever. And then from there you start to consolidate all your organism, and start to cause some response, okay, that I will continue to come back again, or a craving and becoming. And this is how we respond, and causes us to be back and forth into our life cycle until we transcend. And all this issue, human being has this particular consciousness, but you can use the sensors, artificial intelligence, to help you get contact with as many people, as many objects as possible, so that you can increase your organisms and response. Okay, so let me show you the artificial intelligence cycle of this, which is advanced classes, and we'll not get into the detail. So just want to demonstrate to you that your research is aimed at reducing the random variability in identifying the systematic relationship between all the SOR and so many variables in X, and be able to tell the story and express through the SOR theory, for example. And otherwise, the AI can do it for you. And I want to show how the AI do for you. So do we really need researchers? Maybe not in the future. Okay, so this organisms is your perceptual interpretation, understanding, value perceptions, and experiences and responses back and forth, back into that, or recommending, or many other issues, and post on the social media, and things like that. And then you have all these SOR models, and I can use and make sure that everything is valid and reliable, which I have already explained to you. There are some ways you can prove support the validity and reliability issue. And then what I want to demonstrate is that you can use the computer neural network. So I can feedback. I can feed all this stimulus data, organism data, and response data, and all the way to the neural network. So neural networks can receive all my data and go to the brain simulations. This is like a brain neurons and the synapses of the neurons connecting, and we have maybe billions, 20 billion or I don't know how many billions, but there's really couple of billions neurons in our brain. So we only use maybe I don't know 1% or 2%. So we can be very intelligent, and all these variables will then consolidated into together with the weight and consider into this function, and then I subjected to a computational function, and then we can using the gradient descent, we can going back and forth to optimize the system, and so that we can generate the neural network simulations of x and y, and or many x and many y. And this is many x and many x and one y. Okay, and then from there I can tell the computers can simulate for me that intention and loyalty of a tourist come from most importantly is the destination identity. So we need to have a good identity. We need to have a good identity of this destination. Okay, we need to have a good identity of this destination, and we need to have a destination personality as well. It means there is certain identity is just you know, your identity, unique image, unique identity of like the place. But then personality is like a human being that that when you deal with a destination, a destination is like a human being, and you and the destination start to talk to each other. And so introvert means that the destination don't care about you, and very quiet. Extrovert, the destination is trying to you know, talk to you. Hi, hello, how are you? And then bring you here, bring you there. As an example, okay, this is right. It's very easy to to do research, right? If you know all this issue, and then the perceived values of these and memorable experience, not the experience, a memorable experience. So the computers, artificial intelligence tell me the story. So I put the story, and I I put the story, and all these stories can tell me you know, some segmentation differences. So these groups of people are different from this group. This group of people are different from that group. So I can know there are a couple of differences between different groups, right? There are, maybe I can interview them. So computer intelligence can tell me that I need to be careful when I want to develop this destination, because there are two different groups. This group doesn't seem to be very reactive. Only this group that is very active, but it's very sharp. Only a small portion. But large groups of peoples are in this zone, so we have to be very careful. And there are certain three group, you know, there are certain group pop up in the middle and things like that. And this is also 1, 2, 3 groups, and 1, 2 groups, and maybe 3 groups in the outer area. And so this computer's intelligence can tell, and then I can go to use the information from the neural network, from the artificial intelligence, and put into statistical analysis and it will tell me the story, whether the computer's artificial intelligence tell the story or not telling the right story, and it's a valid story, so that I can, and it's very high, 90%, 80%. So that means that the uncertainty is the 20%. And that means that the certainty is 80%, and it's very high. Okay, so that is very good. You can get a PhD from this couple of pages. Okay, so so this come back to our research. Okay, so it's identifying the relationship between variable, okay, and things like that.